The Trump administration is dropping the hammer on cheap imports of disposable food containers from China and Vietnam, announcing massive trade penalties that experts say will lead to safer products, while simultaneously protecting U.S. companies from unfair competition. America continues to thrive when fair competition occurs. Attorney Yochai Basebird of Cassidy-Levy-Kent, counsel to the American Molded Fiber Coalition, told Fox News Digital Tuesday. The Trump administration is using every tool in the toolbox to enforce U.S. trade laws, and cheaters beware because they're coming after you. Basebird, whose legal background focuses on trade litigation, was reacting to the U.S. International Trade Commission, announcing recently that its board voted to rule that U.S. industry is materially injured by importing thermoformed molded fiber products from China and Vietnam. Basebird argued on behalf of U.S. companies as the International Trade Commission considered the case. Thermoformed molded fiber products are common food containers, including disposable bowls, plates, cups, and containers for ready-to-make meals or takeout containers, made from natural fibers and recycled products such as wood pulp. The fibers are turned to pulp before they're molded and then shaped using heat and pressure. The U.S. market has been flooded with such products from China and Vietnam, with the nations dumping the containers at unfairly low prices that affect American businesses, according to the ITC. Following the vote from the ITC, the Commerce Department will issue final anti-dumping and countervailing CVD duty orders on those imports from China and Vietnam. Anti-dumping and countervailing duties are special trade penalties, in addition to typical tariffs, that the U.S. imposes on imports found to be unfairly underpriced in order to level the playing field for American companies. The new orders are expected in the coming weeks, with ITC expected to release its report by Yan 23. The duties will include an upward of 540% tax on certain Chinese producers, including a 477% plus tax for dumping alone, and a 260% plus tax on Vietnamese producers of the thermoformed molded fiber packaging products, ITC data shows. The ITC vote will give the U.S. industry at least 5 years of duties on unfairly traded products from China and Vietnam, Basebird said. The ITC confirmed that the U.S. industry is severely injured by the corrosive impact of Chinese and Vietnamese imports. The ITC also authorized retroactive duties on Vietnamese imports. This is only one of a handful of times they have done so in the past 25 years, sending a message to importers that they cannot surge into the U.S. market to try to get ahead of potential duties. Basebird said the upcoming duties will level the playing field for U.S. industry against cheap imports. U.S. workers' companies can compete against anyone, anywhere. What they can't do is outcompete Chinese and Vietnamese government subsidies that violate U.S. trade laws. The duties allow U.S. manufacturers to reinvest in their workers, operations, technology, because they can now compete on a level playing field, he said. The duty orders are separate from the Trump administration's tariffs on foreign nations, Fox News Digital learned. The tariffs are subject to change and negotiation, while the duties are legally binding trade enforcement mechanisms based on investigative findings by the U.S. Department of Commerce and International Trade Commission and enforced by Border Patrol. The duties are applicable for the next 5 years minimum and are not subject to presidential discretion, Fox News Digital learned. Other presidential administrations have used anti-dumping and countervailing duties to level the playing field for U.S. companies, including the Biden administration touting in 2024 that it leveled more than 30 new anti-dumping and countervailing duties on steel-related products alone. Basebird argued that the Trump administration broadened its tool chest for an all-encompassing approach to protecting U.S. manufacturing. The Trump administration is taking advantage of all the enforcement tools available across the federal government to support U.S. manufacturing. We are seeing increased customs enforcement, both civil and criminal, a new DOJ trade fraud task force, and greater scrutiny of supply chain shifts that circumvent duties, the attorney said. In addition to business concerns about the Asian nations boxing out the U.S. market for food service containers, health concerns also have simmered. China and Vietnam have been identified as nations that produce containers with forever chemicals, or per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS. An ITC report published in 2024 found that while some foreign nations claim products are PFAS-free, studies indicate that it is not always true, while the U.S. generally produces PFAS-free products. The vote marks the third recent trade ruling that affects disposable food service containers. The U.S. Department of Commerce ITC issued antidumping and countervailing duties on disposable aluminum containers, pans, trays, and lids imported from China and elsewhere, as well as leveling antidumping and countervailing duties on low-cost white paper plates from China, Thailand, and Vietnam in March.